Hey little hoes, my name is Kristen and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a very special one to honor a very special friend. You know who you are. Because of the quarantine still in place in our town, a lot of group events, gatherings have been canceled or postponed. My very, very good friend is bummed out because Pride festivities were canceled, and usually they're held in June. They might be rescheduled for October, but I wanted to maybe hopefully make my friend's week a little bit better and a little bit brighter by doing this vid in honor of them. This video will be Plants and Pride. So in this video, I am going to have a nod toward the rainbow flag and go through all the colors, including some others, and highlight some plants that might fit in that color category. And I personally am going to be doing a house plant, an outdoor plant, and a wishlist plant in every color. I also decided to do black and white and pink because why not? So yeah, if anybody would like to participate, you are 100% welcome. If you have a YouTube channel and would like to make a video, feel free. And if you don't, comment below. Comment and tell me what some of your favorite rainbow plants are. And if people don't particularly want to do a video exactly like mine, they don't want to highlight outdoor plants, or they don't have a house plant currently that fits in a color category and just want to do a wish list plant, go right ahead. You do you, boo. Do it however you want. I have notes down here. So I am going to be starting with the most vibrant color, red. So obviously my favorite red house plant has got to be my Philodendron squamous, and yes, I talk about this constantly, but the first thing I think of when I think of red houseplants is these sensual, furry petioles that are bright red. Now, I have noticed that the brighter lighting brings out more red. Originally, this plant hung out in my bathroom next to the window and had very, very red petioles. Since I repotted it and moved it into the living room, which is on the north side of the house and is quite a bit shadier in there, they have turned a little bit more green. The newer ones tend to be a little bit brighter before turning that green, so you know, I might try and find a little bit brighter spot for it at some point. I might even get very brave and take it outside for the summer. We shall see on that. It is by far one of the easiest philodendrons I have, and while it hasn't grown as much in the living room as it has in the bathroom, because of the humidity, I would say that it is pretty tolerant of lower humidity. So my outdoor plant, I don't know, I thought of red and my mind jumped to these beans, these Scarlet runner beans. Now, I'll try and put a picture for everything up on the screen. This I have been growing generally in my parents' garden for the past, 8 years or more. Unlike most beans, it has bright, bright, bright red flowers. And yes, they are edible. You do want to pick them when the bean is much smaller because it is a rather furry exterior, if you will. And the more that you let the bean mature, the fuzzier and kind of woodier, nastier it gets. So pick them while they're young and they're still quite tasty. If you let them mature, you will notice if you harvest the beans for next year's planting that they are a beautiful sort of purple black mottle. Full sun is best for them, but I have grown them in more of a slightly shaded spot and they do well, just not as vigorous. So my wish list red plant is going to be one that it blows my mind that it's even in existence, but it's Philodendron Red Moon. Holy moly, sweet mother of mercy, it is just outrageously cool. Moving on to the color orange. So this one is somewhat new. It is the Mandarin Plant, which I believe is it a chlorophytum? It's a relative of the spider plant. It hasn't grown a lot since I've gotten it, but then again, I did split it off when we got it, and half went to my friend. The stems are the most vibrant neon orange that you have ever seen. And fun fact, the stems turn even brighter neon under a black light. If any of you happen to have both this plant and a black light, you should check it out. Also check out Aglaonemas under a black light, because it's pretty crazy how fluorescent they become. So my outdoor plant is one that when I was able to do more outdoor gardening at my parents', I absolutely loved it. Helenium, it's also known as Helen's flower for Helen of Troy, or sneezeweed, and I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the history is that they used this plant like snuff in the old days. Helenium is a wonderfully hardy outdoor perennial. The Mardi Gras specifically is one that I liked because it had some really good rebloom on it. Typically, Helenium only have, albeit a very long bloom time, a one-time only flowering, generally in late summer into fall, but Mardi Gras would bloom earlier in probably late spring, take a little break, and then resume. And these flowers were the most gorgeous yellow with like flecks of darker red and a little yellow. Pretty awesome. And deadheading it would definitely help the reflowering. Other than that, provide it full sun and water. It's not a particularly drought tolerant plant. So now my wish list plant. I have been wanting one a while and may or may not bite the bullet and purchase one pretty soon, but it is the Philodendron billeti with the bright orange petioles, or some might call it stems. I would also love to have a variegated billeti, but I know that's well out of my price range for a number of years. Now to yellow. I don't happen to have a lot of yellow plants, I've noticed. There are like some of the golden pothos or philodendron, but I kind of wanted to highlight something else. And that is going to be my sunburst. Oh my god. So it attracts cat hair a lot. It was on sale. It was 50% off, so I think I probably paid like $4 or $5 for this big guy. I am not sorry though, it is not nearly as spiny as some other opuntias, and the spines it does have are longer and sparse. So it's not quite as densely packed with those awful, awful little tiny ones like the Daisy-carpum or Rufida, I think it is. I think this is a pretty cool one, very easy, but if you guys can see, this yellow variegation is pretty intense, and I hardly ever water this. It's just down on my floor collecting cat fur. So, to the outdoor plants, this guy is a very understated one for the shade garden, and it is the Trolleus. There are a fair amount of different Trolleus available nowadays, and I think I had probably the Cheddar, which is a very pale whitish yellow, and also I think it was the Golden Queen, which was more of like a really intense golden yellow orange. And I wanted to just point out both of those. Really brightens up a dark shade garden, and I would say the Golden Queen was the more vigorous of the two. The Cheddar was probably a little bit more delicate, but both bloomed quite reliably in the spring, and the Golden Queen did reseed, which was really lovely. They probably can do a little bit more sun, probably like part sun, as long as you don't let the ground dry out. They are definitely a plant that prefers moist soil to dry. So my wish list plant, I was about ready to order it from Thailand, and they freaking sold out. I am majorly bummed out about this, but I will get you one day. This is the magnificent Philodendron Red. I may or may not be saying that right, but I am going to say it with confidence to sound like I know what I'm talking about. The Philodendron Red Aureum has, picture will be up here, has the most amazing serrated bright yellow foliage, and I am down for it. I am here for it. I want you in my life. So moving on to green. You can't have a rainbow without green, but it's kind of difficult figuring out what you want to put plant-wise. What you want to do plant-wise for green. So, probably no surprise, I am going to mention my Ceropegia sandersonii again. I chose to go with a plant that does have kind of greenish flowers. It's more white with green highlights, but it's still pretty rad. And I have to say, green flowers hold a special place in my heart. They are just weird. You don't see them very often, and a lot of them are probably a little bit more of like the sepals than actual flowers showing, but they're still rad. For my outdoor plant, it's one that I haven't personally grown, but I have sold before, and I do want to try it one day. So this is the Quitea epipactis. I believe I'm saying this correct. Like I was saying, it doesn't have true green petals. Those are actually like the little bracts, or I believe sepals, that surround the little yellow bits, which are actually the flowers. And there's a really cool variety. It's probably still rather rare, but it's called Thor, which has variegation to them, and it's pretty wild. It is a little shade garden plant, and I would imagine you want to keep it on the damp side. It doesn't like to dry out. So my green wish list plant, I don't know, there's so many green wish list plants, but it's probably at the moment the thing I am most obsessed about getting. It's the Epipremnum skeleton key. I again am contemplating ordering it. Still haven't pulled the trigger and gotten it, but I'm thinking of importing it. This is probably the worst timing to be importing plants considering what the mail is like. So, blue. There are not many true blue flowers in the plant world. A lot of companies will fudge muffin it and say it's a blue flower, when in reality it's a dark purple. There are blue foliage plants and there are blue flowers. And if you guys watched my glaucus video, it explains a little bit about blue foliage plants. And I did. I did somewhat show this plant in that video, but overall I haven't shown it much. So I wanted to let it have its spotlight. And like last time, it's really not showing quite how blue it is. But this is the Aloe humilis. And it has that epicuticular wax on it, which makes it a very attractive powdery blue. And it's pretty cool when it spouts out this new growth. The centers are more of a vibrant green before it ages to that powdery blue. For my outdoor blue plant, it has got to be one of the most incredible flowering plants you will ever come across, and that is Gentian. Most Gentians are more of an alpine plant, with probably some exceptions to more wetland areas. It is incredible that these flowers are a true blue, the most vibrant color you will ever discover. They generally, or at least depending on the species or variety, have large trumpet flowers. Like I said, they could be grown in more shady rock garden situations, but just average, well-draining garden soil in part sun, part shade, I wouldn't do full shade, is awesome for them. Good drainage is key, however. And I grew a number of these. Some of these species are interesting for the fact that they have these bottle-like flowers that never really open up. It's just like a little capsule of blue flower that the bees try and pry their way into. I think my favorite one was the Holtzman's Gentian. I will try and insert a picture of the beautiful plant that I gave to Casey's mom. It is doing incredible, and it's like just a sea of blue when it's in full bloom. So I don't know if anyone considers silver in that realm of blue by some stretch of the imagination, but I am going to include silvery plant in with the blue, and that would be the Amydrium silver blue form. I haven't tried this particular genera before, but I do want to. I am very curious about it, as I am with most aroids nowadays. So, purple. And this is going to be a difficult tie for what plant to feature for purple, because I have two houseplant vines that definitely have that amazing purple coloration. And that would be my Cissus discolor, which I repotted not too long ago, and the Dioscorea discolor, which has amazing vivid purple to the back sides of them. It's an equal tie. Those two are definitely probably the most vibrant purple plants that I have. Both are pretty easy. I would say that my Cissus is a bit of a drama queen, especially when it comes to watering. If you forget to water when it is thirsty, it will let you know by dropping a lot of the new vine growth. So, outdoor plants for purple. I am going to feature a plant that is grown for its tremendous leaves. And this is the smoke bush. It is quite glorious. It has the most deepest, richest purple burgundy coloration. And they call it a smoke bush because of the very frothy flower heads it has, that it looks incredible when backlit by the sun. Again, very easy plant to grow. You will get a rather straggly plant if you let this bush just grow all willy-nilly. So it's not a bad idea to cut it back pretty hard in the spring to get a little bit more full look to this shrub. My wish list purple plant is, I don't know if you can even call it purple. Could you call it purple? It's very metallic-y, with hints of purple, and that is the Alocasia cuprea. I am entirely intimidated by alocasias, but I do want to try this one, the color pink. So for my houseplant, it is obviously going to be the Stromanthe Trio Star, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I know. It has that cool pink-green variegation with the pink undersides, and it is intense. It is one of those plants that even those who are not interested in plants comment about. I have mine in the bathroom in a rather low light situation. There's the window, and then right around where the toilet is, it's pretty dark. It gets some maybe diffuse lighting from the window, and obviously the above head fluorescent light, but no direct sunlight, and it is still vivid. It is a little bit picky. I grew it once before in the sunroom and it was doing great, and then I think winter hit and the air vents of winter took their toll and dried it out. It's very hard to recover them once they dry out. So I did it. I started again with a new one. I am so glad I did. I found the perfect spot. I do probably let it dry out a little bit more than I should between waterings, but the bathroom is so humid that I think it helps see it through until the next watering. For outdoor plants, it was kind of a tie between my one of my most favorite roses and a tree. One of my favorite roses is the David Austin Gentle Hermione Rose. It is a vigorous grower. It puts out quite a bit of flowers, and those flowers have the most incredible, delicate rose scent. And usually I am not a rose person, but David Austin does it right with his roses. The other runner-up is the Ooredoo Nishiki Acer palmatum, I believe. So a variegated Japanese maple. And my parents have one, and I had one back here, but it reverted to green. And I'm sure that's fairly common, especially for the grafted ones. But Ooredoo Nishiki has white-green variegation, and the new growth is bright, bright pink. Ooredoo does burn quite a bit though, so make sure to put it somewhere that has diffuse lighting, part shade, or not, at least not direct sunlight, because it will burn the crap out of it. So my wish list pink plant, is it any surprise? It's probably a pink princess, and the ones I see on Instagram are incredible. I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence with growing them. Either they get an incredible specimen that puts out really nice variegation, or they don't. It isn't one of those plants that I'm just like, I must have it right now. I would like to grow it someday, but I am not in a rush to do so, if that makes any sense. Another wish list plant, and this is just in my back of my head memory banks for a one-day plant for when I have a house and property of my own. And this is a mahogany tree, which surprisingly it is hardy in my zone 5 location, but it is the Tuna sinensis flamingo pink. And unlike most just regular tunas or mahogany trees, it has pink foliage. I'm not entirely sure if this pink will start to fade to green as it matures or the season progresses. Either way, I kind of want one. For the black houseplant, I could go with my ZZ Raven, but I really wanted to show off my Syngonium raii, which has very dark, velvety, near black foliage, and it is impressing me. I have to say some of the older leaves are kind of weird I don't know if they always look this way when they age, or if it was just maybe some damage in shipment, but there's some of them that look more chocolatey, but that new growth is where you'll see the darkest color. Outdoor plant. The coolest flowers you will see is a Hellebore. Hellebore is one that blooms super, super early spring. Like, think as soon as the snow is melted, along with some of the earliest tulips. My favorite is the black ones. Onyx Odyssey in particular is an amazing one. Easy plant for shade to part sun. I've grown them in part sun before. They're probably a little bit less happy than they would be in more shade, especially if you live somewhere that has very dry, hot, intense summers. Now on to my wish list plant for black. And this is one I'm sure I will never own, but I want it. And this is the Anthurium moodianum. And it looks like what the name says. It's dark and moody. Also, yes, I am just like mentally rehearsing how to say this name. Homalomina. There is one species out there. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but this picture on Instagram has got me wanting it. It is like this velvety black burgundy leafed Homalomina. If any of you know what type it is exactly, let me know, because it is the tits. On to white plants. I don't really have that many. Probably one that could apply is this crested Euphorbia lactea cristata. It has been very easygoing. I almost expected it to be difficult. It hasn't. It loves this full sun in the sunroom. For my outdoor plants, I haven't grown it, but I have seen it in our local gardens growing before. And it is the Cramby cordifolia. It is just a mass of billowy white, tiny flowers. Think baby's breath, but on steroids. So a fat child's breath, essentially. But it's perennial. It will get probably a good 6 feet tall. So my wish list plant for white is got to be the Florida Ghost, which I'm sure you guys have all seen it by now. It has that sort of minty white new growth that ages to a green. Before I end this video, I also wanted to say that there were a few other plant tubers that showed interest in doing this tag, so I would like to tag the following people. Splash of Green, Elizabeth Plants, Daisy in the Jungle, Juniper Knots, Aaron Deathly, Just Uno Moss, Plant with Casey, Allie's Plants, Yoga and Plant with Rose, plus anyone else that would like to join in. Alright guys, so that concludes the Plants and Pride video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if anyone wants to participate and show their love, please do so. And all my love to my friend. I know that you're bummed out not getting to go to Pride, but this video is in honor of you, and I hope it makes you feel a little bit better. Talk to you guys later. Stay healthy, stay sane. I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.